Welcome to the pharmaphorum podcast. This is web editor Nicole Raleigh, and today I have with me Bryan Hill, Life Sciences Chief Technology Officer at Cognizant, with whom I'll be discussing the many ways in which generative AI, or GenAI, is revolutionising life sciences and drug development. Welcome, Bryan.
Hi, Nicole. Happy to be here.
So it takes around 7 years to develop a new drug and bring it to market. With the advent of GenAI, businesses in the life sciences sector can speed up the process, wiping months or even years off that average. In drug development, saving time also means saving lives, or at the very least improving them with the availability of specific treatments. Though it might seem an obvious path, not all life sciences companies are jumping on the bandwagon to adopt GenAI, however. Instead, many are taking a wait-and-see approach, staying put until the course forward is clearer to incorporate the technology. This might sound like a prudent approach now, but as we'll discuss today, Bryan and I, in the long run, the missed opportunities will potentially cause them to regret their initial hesitation. Before we commence upon our topic, though, Bryan, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey to what you are doing today working at Cognizant.
Sure. Thanks, Nicole. First, maybe a little bit about Cognizant for folks who may not know us well. We work with the top 30 pharmaceutical companies, 9 of the top 10 biotech companies, and we partner in a lot of different ways, transforming how our clients are doing manufacturing, R&D, commercial sales and marketing activities, leveraging digital and technology. For my part, I serve as the Chief Digital Officer for Life Sciences at Cognizant. I lead specifically our digital health practice and look for opportunities where digital services, digital capabilities can improve whether it's workflows within the business or how digital is connecting patients, humans, doctors in service of their health, integrating wearables and digital who's-y what's-its to enable decentralized clinical trials or digital trial capabilities, looking at companion services and applications that can actually serve in a commercial setting once a drug is actually available publicly. So that's a little bit about myself. Yeah.
So if we turn to thinking about R&D is often the most time-consuming part of the drug development process, but generative AI can change, for example, how researchers engage with existing literature, accelerating the process by up to some 50%, it's thought. So I was wondering if you could explain for me, for listeners, how and perhaps provide some broader examples of how GenAI can simplify processes.
Yeah, so it's really interesting. If you think back to before maybe computers were involved the way they are today in that part of the process, you'd have to go and literally read all the available literature to try and support your efforts in creating your documents and planning and all this kind of stuff. And, then we moved to more of a keyword search capability, right? So let's say, for example, I was looking for developing a protocol for a new cholesterol medication. I might start by doing a keyword search on terms like cholesterol or hyperlipidemia in clinical trial. And ultimately, I have to do this maybe across different platforms and then synthesize all the results for my purposes. And the transformation that's happening now with generative AI is that we've got context, right? We can have more of a semantic sort of conversational search, if you will, with the technology that can look across, different sources and come back with a result that's a little more relevant. So moving from that keyword example that I gave, you might say something like, I'm designing a clinical trial for a new cholesterol medication, and then give a prompt to then say, ask for an overview of, the most recent studies around cholesterol medications, understanding their efficacy, their safety, and things of this nature, and then ultimately get a result that, again, is more ready for me to more review and act on, a better summary, a better summarization of all these components versus, that what's become maybe more of a traditional, keyword-based search and summarization.
So if we move from keyword searches and content and simplification of processes through Gen AI, let's turn now to the notion of automation. Putting together a clinical trial protocol document can take anywhere from a few months to over a year, and Gen AI's technology's capabilities can automate a substantial proportion of the protocol writing process, bring it down to days or even mere hours. So I was wondering if you could tell us more about automation, Bryan.
Yeah. So now that you've got all this information, that's really relevant, you can start to sift through it. You can even start to think about maybe more advanced ways of leveraging maybe proprietary information that a particular pharmaceutical company has and real world data that can then inform the authoring process, can start to set the stage for exclusionary or inclusion criteria that's more relevant for certain patient populations and things of that nature. So very dramatically, sort of reducing the time of authoring and even having an impact on review cycles. So you mentioned efficiency gains of upwards of 50 to 60%. That would align with the kinds of research that we've done and our experience in this space. But then also further reducing those review cycles by another 10 to 20%.
So if we think about secondary markets now, Gen AI can even expedite launch processes in secondary markets, can't it?
Yeah, that's right. So if you think about, let's say you've got materials for patient education materials, as an example, you can leverage this technology and these capabilities to then transcreate that content. What I mean by that is it's more than just translation of text, of words. It's really creating an asset that's going to be culturally relevant, that's going to fit within, sort of the community norms and regional norms of a given region, right? So what may work for different countries within Europe, for example, may not apply or work as effectively in Asian communities. So this technology could create that kind of cultural relevance. And I think where we'll see the greatest impact is in some of the tools that agencies and marketing teams and the like use every day. So the transformation that may happen within the Adobe tool set as far as leveraging these capabilities, building them inherently into the tools that designers and writers and creative folks use every day, we can start to create them maybe on the fly and have those kinds of review cycles built in as well. And what I mean by that is you think about the medical, legal, regulatory review processes that are very administrative, manual, analog, and where they could be further automated by leveraging this kind of technology.
I like this notion of transcreation of content for it to be market applicable across geographies. Did you want to tell us anything more about that, or is there anything you'd like to add to what we've been discussing, Bryan?
Yeah, I mean, I think just when we're talking about transcreation, again, it's going beyond text and it's having imagery and sort of an aesthetic, a visual literacy, if you will, that's going to connect with, very specific communities. And I think that's a pretty powerful sentiment when we're talking about trying to reach underserved communities and how you might be able to leverage, this kind of automation and creation of that content, maybe even co-creation with those local communities so that you can more effectively, on the clinical development side of things, reach potential participant populations. And then certainly on the commercial side, trying to reach patient populations there. I think as far as anything to add, we see this space developing pretty quickly. I think, again, you're starting to see some of these capabilities appear inherently in the tools that we use every day, whether it's Copilot and some of the tools that Microsoft's bringing to market, or, again, tools like Adobe. These are sort of the forebearers of what's to come. And I think when we are able to create more specialized life sciences focused and even hyper specialized, capabilities that are focused on specific areas of the value chain in research, in the clinical development process and commercial sales and marketing activities. We're going to see some real movement as far as not just improving health outcomes for patients, but accelerating value for, all entities that are part of this ecosystem, if you will.
Thank you, Bryan. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise. Thank you, Nicole.
And so that concludes another episode of the pharmaphorum podcast. You can find more information about this episode, including a download link and information about previous installments at pharmaphorum.com/podcasts. The pharmaphorum podcast is also available on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music, Podbean, and pretty much wherever you get your other podcasts. Just search for pharmaphorum and press subscribe. Of course, don't forget to visit our website itself, where you can sign up for daily and weekly news and analysis bulletins. And do follow us as well on X or Twitter and LinkedIn at pharmaphorum. That's all for now. Thank you for listening.